It's really getting tiring how many people are calling something a right just as a way of saying, give me free stuff. Case in point, this article in TED a couple of years ago saying that affordable housing needs to be a right, not a privilege. He starts off mentioning that only 24% of the 19 million households that qualify for housing assistance actually get it. That link isn't to a primary source, which is a nice red flag. I had to click a couple of times to get there. It's from Harvard's Joint Center for Housing Studies. The study looks at home rentals and finds that rentals have actually been growing this decade. The idea that everyone, especially people with low income, needs to own a home and not rent is exactly what led to the policies responsible for the housing crisis. And most of these renters are under age 40, which makes sense. When you're starting out, you might have to move from place to place as you follow jobs around and develop your career. It's a lot easier to do that if you rent, since if you own, it means that each time you switch locations, you have to sell your house and buy a new one. This 24% figure is based on the number of people who make less than half of an area's median income. Notice that that's not necessarily tied to how easy it is to buy or rent a place to live. At any rate, it all misses the point. The way to make it so that low-income people can afford a place to live is first to say that it's okay that so many of them are renting, and second, to allow more rental properties to be built. So when someone comes to you and wants to turn, say, a laundromat into low-rent housing, how about letting them do it? I'm looking at you, San Francisco. I mean, really, there are so many government policies working against this, from federal policies designed to keep home values from falling, and there's no difference between home values and the cost of housing, to local policies such as zoning. If you want housing to be affordable, get rid of all of these and allow people to build as many homes as the market will bear. But no, Stockard wants the U.S. to declare housing to be a right, and check this out. This may seem like a dramatic idea. Then again, so was the notion that women be allowed to vote in 1920, or that African American children be entitled to go to the same schools as white children in 1954, or that people of the same gender be legally permitted to marry in 2014. Yes, he is comparing the freedom of individuals to act as they want to a policy that involves taking money from other people by force. Talk about your false equivalence. He claims, without it, people end up in overcrowded apartments, homeless shelters, hospitals, institutions for the mentally or physically disabled, jails, or on the street. Well, isn't it funny that you get most of these homeless people in places like California where they are trying to guarantee this housing? Look, there's only one way to get more housing built at a lower price. Push the supply curve out to the right. That means making it as easy as possible to build homes and rentals. Get rid of zoning. Get rid of all these ridiculous regulations that are there in the name of safety that don't actually make homes any safer. Get rid of laws that stop someone renting out the space over their garage, for example. Stop declaring a home to be a wetland if it flooded because a drainage ditch got clogged. And when someone wants to make new rental property and a bunch of whiny, spoiled, NIMBY snowflakes come trundling in whining about gentrification or whatever, don't listen to them. Above all, get rid of price controls. Rent controls and other forms of price controls do not help the poor. They only inhibit the increase of supply, which, as I said, is the only way to get both increased quantity and decreased price. And if that's what a right to housing meant, I'd be all for it. It would just mean stop government from interfering in people's ability to make more housing and other people to buy or rent it. But that's not what he's talking about. And even when the solution stares him in the face, he doesn't get it. Check this out. The typical child in a family without permanent housing changes schools 3 or more times a year, according to the National Law Center on Homelessness and Poverty. This means that every year they must adjust to 3 or more different teachers, curriculums, school cultures, and groups of classmates. What are the chances that a child will flourish under these circumstances? Some will succeed despite the odds, but most won't. Okay, so they change houses to one that's in a different school district. So who's forcing the kid to change schools? The state! What's the solution? School choice. I mean, most of these people are still going to be living in the same general area, so you could at least minimize this problem if you just let the kid continue to go to the school he's already at, and not stop him from that just because he moved to the other side of an arbitrary line drawn by bureaucrats. But his next sentence really gets to the nub of the problem. A right to housing is a given in much of the rest of the world. Okay, first of all, rights are not given. Stockard thinks that the government is a holy entity with the ability to bestow rights on people, sort of like divine right of kings, only without the kings. No. Rights are things you have by nature of being a human being. That means the right to self-ownership, the right to life, liberty, and property. It does not mean the right to someone else's resources, which Stockard and the UN just do not get. Someone's going to have to build these houses, someone's going to be forced to let poor people live there, and someone's going to be forced to pay for it all. You do not have the right to the resources of others. To do that is to say that these other people are slaves. And it's just amazing, since none of this would even be necessary if it weren't for his blessed government causing the problem to begin with. It's another example of government breaking your leg, handing you a crutch, and saying, see, without us, you couldn't walk. So thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, the best way to help is to share it everywhere you can, since, as it turns out, my videos aren't even showing up in searches when you type in the exact title. You can also go to donate.bogosity.tv to give a one-time donation with PayPal or crypto, or become a regular supporter at Patreon or Subscribestar, and get benefits like early access to the videos and podcast, and the ability to join in on the live streams. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, stay strong and be free.